Hello everyone. Welcome to the February edition of Colombo JavaScript Meetup, CMBJS February edition. So we got Mithushan this time, and he's one of our very old participant for the Colombo JavaScript Meetup, and he got us an speaker, a promotion these days. Thank you very much, Mithushan, for joining in. And he's the one who actually first a person who to fill our form for calling for speakers, but we got it in February. So cool.
Exactly.
And
So
so
I'm putting
before
that.
we move forward, yeah, this
I'm
is
putting
the
the link here. So anyone who want to apply for the speaking the meetup, they can become a speaker by just filling out this form.
yeah bit.ly/speak at CMBJS, all lowercase. And yeah, we all everybody is actually welcome to speak at Colombo JS Meetup. And this yeah, we have kind of a code of conduct, so you are not discriminated based on your technology stack or anything that you're doing or anything. So everyone is actually welcome here. So I'm going to introduce Mithushan to the session without more further ado. And thanks Satintha Heshan, who's actually waiting very big amount till we start in the session.
Yeah.
So Mithushan is actually a full stack developer at Paladin Analytics, and he also co-organizer for the not Colombo, and it's the first ever Angular conference in Sri Lanka. So he's one of co-organizers there, and yeah, me and Pubudu also had chance to take part of that great event.
Exactly.
And you can find Mithushan in Twitter, and he's kind of active in social media. And excuse me, actually, I'm in middle of traveling, so I'm joining the session. It's a different story. So over to you, Mithushan.
Right. Thank you, Chatu, for that introduction. But first off, I'm audible, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much to Colombo JavaScript Meta for giving me this opportunity to be a speaker. This is probably even though I've done other speakers, this is my first technical talk that I'm going to be doing publicly. So let's see how that goes. Okay. So just to give reintroduce myself, my name is Mithushan Jalangan. I'm a full stack developer at Paladin. Also, the co-organizer of NG Sri Lanka, the first ever Angular conference that happened back in 2019. Apart from that, I'm also an IEEE volunteer. I mostly volunteer on projects that's related to STEM and entrepreneurship. Uh, so this is going to be like a mix of both. This talk is actually going to be a mix of both me rambling for some time about some JavaScript concepts and also a small demo as well. I'm trying to do two demos. We'll see how that goes. So this is what I'm going to expect. So I'm going to start talking for 10 to 15 minutes and give an introduction to the Jamstack, Headless CMS, and Strapi. And then we'll do a basic setup with Strapi. Hopefully we can run through the demo project called TechBase, and it's not mandatory, but it's good to have some experience in JavaScript so you guys can follow along. Also, most important thing, please play to the live demo gods for that, so that our demo doesn't crash halfway. Okay. Just to start things off, Jamstack has been like a buzzword recently in the whole front end or even back end technology or developers. Pretty sure you might have come across it in all the latest blog articles, or if you're like fairly active in Twitter, that's something that people do converse about. So JavaScript, the Jamstack, like the lamp stack, MERN stack, or the mean stack, is not something that's technologically oriented, but Jamstack is like an architecture that's based on uh, three fundamental concepts of that we use in web development. So this is this is like the coined definition of what a Jamstack is. It's most out of it goes like a modern web development architecture based on client-side JavaScript, reusable APIs, and built-up markup. So you must be wondering why is it called jam? It's not something sweet, but you could call it sweet when you put everything together. So J actually stands for JavaScript, A stands for APIs, and M stands for markup. It's just it boils down to the few basic principles that uh, we do on a day-to-day basis when we do web applications. So JavaScript API is markup. What does that mean? So I think everyone in the dev community are very familiar with what JavaScript is. It's the most popular programming language and currently easy to learn. Or like most of the time, people try to jump into JavaScript these days. So it's quite popular. So it's more sort of like JavaScript in terms gives the dynamic functionalities for the Jamstack, and the APIs is basically all the backend code that we write. It's arguable whether you can call it backend, but you can also use other third-party services or like your custom functions just to expose an endpoint and just to transfer data using HTTP. Then the markup is basically the static sites, that's the static HTML that's been served. Sometimes you can take markup as MD files or Markdown files as well. Uh, it's highly debatable in one way. So a few, just to run through like a workflow about what's different between our traditional uh, websites and a website that's made of the Jamstack, right? Uh, Assume that we are running a PHP site, okay? Like just take about the lab stack in general. Okay, you will take WordPress as an example, if it because I'm pretty sure most of everyone who even freelance developers like who are fairly new to web development would have heard WordPress. I'm going to take that as like an example. So assume that you hit the index page. That's your home page, your default page. Just assume your domain is example.com. You hit example.com. What happens is the PHP file gets called. I'm skipping the whole web server and the whole Apache scene right here. I'm just thinking in terms of the stack in general. So a PHP file gets called. SQL queries are made. Then PHP generates the HTML code on the fly because the browser only understands HTML, right? HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. PHP is a server-side language. So PHP is the fundamental language that's used in WordPress. So PHP generates the HTML code. The HTML has been sent to the browser, and then that's what we see inside the browser. So basically, what happens is a developer writes code, ships it to the server. You need like a server to run PHP or any applications in general. Then when a request is sent, the HTML is created on demand, right? But when you talk about the Jamstack, that's the JavaScript API and markup. In this case, a simple definition of a Jamstack application is anything that's served on a CDN, right? Uh, you can even take your normal Angular or React applications. You can call them something that's made of Jamstack because ideally you're just serving static files, if that makes sense. Because if you do an ng build or like npm build on React project, what you're going to get is just HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. You will either host it on Netlify or something like Vercel or on Heroku, right? Ultimately, you're just serving static files. So you can take them also as Jamstack. Okay. So when you write code, you only ship the built files to the CDN because Netlify itself is a CDN, right? And when you basically request for a page, you're being served something that's pre-generated. But the markup that you see or the structure that you see on the page when you load a React or Angular application is created on it's client side rendered, but the data is being fetched from an API, right? So the server there's like a server that's outside that's sending you data, and on the client side it's been rendered. So that's how it's different. There is nothing that produces the HTML on demand when you ask for something, but on Jamstack, when the files has been taken to a browser, then you start fetching data and start creating the pages. So why the Jamstack? In one way, if currently everyone just wants very fast website. Even personally, if something takes a long time for me to load, I just let that go and find something else. So that's why we find it very annoying when our internet is very slow, is because fundamentally we just want everything fast, and that's what we are used to. Same thing goes for websites. So the Jamstack, since you basically host it on a CDN, uh, you basically get things fast. Higher security is because most of your logic is being abstracted through APIs. And also we can leverage third-party services. Assume that you want to do payment, you can use Stripe, or in Sri Lankan context, you can use WebEx Pay or Pay Here. If you want to do image, you can do Cloudinary, or you can do Firebase, you can do AWS S3. Then we can always offload most of the work to APIs, right? If, then it's cheaper and easier scaling. The fundamental problem of all applications is how do you scale cheaply? Okay, uh, that's the whole concept. One of the problems serverless solves is how do you scale cheaply? But you can also do that if you have a website that's been served over the CDN. Scaling is a no-brainer, is because you're just getting static files, and also a CDN is able to heavy lift most of the traffic loads. A better developer experience you can take is one way is because your architecture is loosely coupled. You're not bound to a single framework or technology. Your backend can be any language. When you're serving, when the API can be any language. It can either be Rust, PHP, Go, Node, uh, JavaScript, and the front end can be basically any JavaScript based framework, or you can even simply do vanilla JavaScript if you want to as well. So that's like a basic overview of what the Jamstack is. You can always go to jamstack.org for more details about Jam. Since this talk is more sort of about Strapi and not about the Jamstack, I'm going to skip over to what we are here to talk about. That's the A part of Jamstack. That's the API. And API, I'm going to replace it with the whole headless CMS concept. So what's headless CMS? For us to understand what a headless CMS is, we need to understand what a content management system is, a CMS, and also what a traditional CMS is as well. So a content management system example that I gave you was WordPress is well known. Is an application that allows content creators or like anyone who's managing content to create, edit, publish content such as text, images, or media to website. Assume that I'm an editor. I have a blog post site. I get an interface to edit content, upload content. So any interface like that, you can somewhat call them as a CMS. So a traditional CMS, example like WordPress, is packaged together. Technically, the architecture is so coupled that the front end is reliant on the back end to actually give the structure and stuff. One example are page builders. In terms of WordPress, is all the code that's been done by a page builder is saved into a database, and that's how the structure has been created. But the whole headless concept is basically you break apart what's there, what separates the front end and the back end, and it delivers that content that's been needed through an API. An API is an application programmable interface. If I'm pretty sure people coming from a web development background or any development background in general would understand a purpose of an HTTP API. So the headless CMS doesn't, like WordPress, doesn't have like a presentation layer. In the sense, what I mean is any data that you do is just data that's going to be sent to the internet. It's nothing presentational, but a very good headless CMS at least has an interface for you to manage that content. So there's enough and more headless CMSs around. There is Ghost, there is Contentful, but one thing that I really like was Strapi, because apart from it being like an open source headless CMS, one thing about it is it's open source, but it's more sort of like a framework. because it helps you like generate it like lessens the time that you do for API development, and you can also do it like in a really drag and drop way. All the services, controllers, and models are created every time you just drag and drop content type. So that's why I really like it in one way or another. That's why I wanted to talk about it as well. So why Strapi is because it's open source, it's self-hosted. Basically, uh, assume we go with Firebase. Firebase is you really don't know where the data is being hosted. You just know that okay, I'm sending data to Firebase. Uh, Strapi like that is self-hosted, so you can host it up in your own server if you have like a private server on AWS or Heroku. It's also very customizable. It works on a plugin system. It has a fully functional CRUD operations built into it for every using the content builder. I'll be talking about it. It's 100% JavaScript. So it's like very finely fits into the whole Jamstack paradigm. Then it's extensible by design. It falls under customizable as well because since about the plugin system, you're able to extend the current plugin that's there and also build on top of it as well. One thing great about it is database agnostic. It currently supports SQL and MongoDB. In the sense, it has internal connectors that work across that supports both of them. So if you want to like switch from a SQL database to an NoSQL database, it's a matter of you just changing the connection string. So the features that Strapi provides, it's a it has custom content structures. It has an easy content management. It has a developer friendly API. It has inbuilt roles and permissions. It works on a plugin system, so it's extensible, and it's also customizable as well. So even the out like when you install Strapi, out of the box you get these plugins, and fundamentally the core features are built out of these plugins as well. You have the content builder, you have user authentication, file uploads, and emails. Just talking about the content builder, these are the different content types that you see, right? Text, rich text, numbers, date, Boolean, relation. When you talk about relation, you can actually map one to many, many to many, all those types of relationships by just clicking, by choosing what sort of model that you want. It supports image upload as well with media. So when you create a content type out of the GUI, you basically all these endpoints are being auto-generated for you. Find one, count, create, update, and delete. So the moment you do a content type, uh, it creates the files that's necessary uh, for the model services and control. And next time when you rerun it, you have the API with you. So use authentication authorization. The roles and permissions plugin provide default implementations for all this. There are two types of users by default: administrator and users. An admin user is never a normal user, and the default roles that comes with it that for a user can hold is authenticated and public. By default, it secures all the APIs, the endpoints using JWT as the strategy, but it also supports other third-party providers like Google Auth and GitHub and all those. Supports file upload by default as well. By default, it goes to local system, but there are providers, we call them plugins, that helps you upload files to other services as well, like Amazon, Azure, Cloudinary, DigitalOcean, and Google Storage. Uh, uh, Sorry about that text. I forgot to change it. That's actually email. By default, of the email is being supported by SendMail, which is a local email system. But also due to the community and the active work about from the Strapi team, uh, there's providers for all the other stuff as well. SendGrid, NodeMail. I've used NodeMailer. Uh, I with Strapi, I haven't used the other plugins, so I can't talk about it. But I can say it fairly integrates well with NodeMail as well. So I think everyone right here would have noticed, like, okay, I've already have these features. I've already have these features in WordPress. I would already have these features in Firebase. Why do I switch? Here's the thing. It really depends, right? It whether you want to use Strapi or do you want to use Firebase or you want to use WordPress. So one thing Chatu said is when I came here, I'm a person from an Angular background, but the demo I'm going to show here is about Next. So for me, as long as it fits what I'm doing, it makes more sense to me. So I found Strapi useful in some cases. Sometimes I prefer WordPress. Obviously, if you're building some sort of a brochure site, WordPress makes more sense because it gets things done faster. You don't have to code. Uh, but not to say that Strapi can't do that. Strapi also has that option with something called dynamic zones. So Firebase is more suitable for me if I'm doing real time applications. You can mix and match Strapi and Firebase together. It works. You can write a custom login provider for Firebase, and also integrate that with its real-time chat. You can do that with Strapi. And if you're using WordPress also supports headless with its introduction of REST APIs. But would you really want to take that path, installing a lot of plugins if you can custom code it, right? It really depends on your use case. So that is me rambling about why would someone wants to choose Strapi? Why would someone take Strapi forward? So let's actually see how we can get things started. Sorry, for the sake of time, I actually kind of set up the project already. So if you search for Strapi documentations, it'll let me pull up the docs. Okay, I think you should be able to see. So this is the official Strapi documentation, right? I think it's one of the best documentations I've seen so far. If you just search for Strapi and just go to docs, just click on the first link, you will end up on the official documentation. The fun fact I really wanted to bring the first page is the reason behind why it's called Strapi is because it fundamentally helps you bootstrap an API. Okay, so that's why it's called Strapi. How do you get started is basically you just go to installation tab, go to the CLI. You need to have Node already installed. Out of the box, it supports, you can either do it with Yarn or MPX. Because it takes a bit of time, I have already set up the demo. So project up, basically what you would come here and do is you'll open up your terminal and just copy paste this, okay? What you do is you do my project. I'm going to use Yarn in this case. You would come up here and you just paste this. You can change this to whatever you want. This is just the name. The fun fact about why we use Quick Start is because I told you Strapi is database agnostic. So by default, when you use Quick Start, it uses SQLite as your default database. But if you don't assume that I don't do it, you get a set of options that you can do. It will ask you what sort of database that you want to use. By default, it supports Postgres, SQL, MariaDB, and this thing. So you can have an option to do quick start or custom, and you do quick start, SQLite. If not, you have Postgres, MySQL, and MongoDB. Okay. I always go with MongoDB's Atlas, but this time I'm just going to go with the whole SQLite setup. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the first demo. What we're going to do is we're going to just run through Strapi first. So how do you do is you do yarn develop, or if you do npm develop, it should work. So what internally happens, it calls Strapi develop. It spins up as it's a server on localhost 1337, or for fancy, you can call it lead. We'll wait for it to load. But until it comes up, I just want to show the documentation. So those fundamental concepts that you need to know if you're developing off Strapi is just the fact that about controllers, hooks, middleware, models, plugins. This is you only need this if you want to develop from Strapi, but out of the box you can do a lot of stuff. So when you install Strapi for the first time, you are prompted to create an admin account, right? I'm just going to do MJ. I'm just going to go with my email password. I'm just going to go up with password at 1, 2, 3. Why I do this is because they also have a validation for this. You to have one uppercase and this thing. So when you click on start, you get into the whole interface. Anyone who's using WordPress might be familiar with this whole setup, but it's clean, right? By default, the collection type that you have or the content type that you have is users. Okay, so you can create a user. This user is not the one that we created before is an admin user, but these are the application users. Next up, we have the content builder. So this is where this is the GUI that I told that you can build all your collection types. So the moment that you create a new collection type, see that you give it as singular. So I do blog, just say that's the name of my this thing. These are the types of options that I have. Assume that I'm going to go with a post title. I will create the create title. Then I'm going to keep it as short, rich text if you want to add links, images, and everything. So I'm just going to say call this as content. I can go about and add another one. This can be unique identifier. You can attach this to title. This can be called slug. And we can have dates if to be created at. I'm just going to go with this for now. Actually, you don't need to have created that because that comes out of the box. So I'm just going to finish this up, cancel this and just save it and say save. Okay. The moment you do this is you will notice right here is the server is actually starting. Okay. Because what's happening under the hood is Strapi is creating all these files that's needed. So this is blog that we just created. It's creating all the controllers, the models, and the services that's needed to make this available. Okay. So now if you go to, just say you go to localhost 1137, it's /blog it's going to take you to that particular endpoint of what we just created. Okay. By default, it's just going to throw you a forbidden error. Why? Is because by default, everything on Strapi is protected. Okay. So this is where the roles and permission plugin comes into play. You go to settings. Okay. You go to roles, click on public. Like I said, there's two roles that a default user can take is authenticated and public. Public is anyone who is not authenticated, who doesn't have a valid JWT. You come and drop down this. It says application, and you can check find one. Okay. What this does is it opens up the endpoints to the public. So I save this, and when it prompts said role has been edited, and now if I come and refresh this, I'm just going to get empty. It's because I don't have any entries. So this is where the CMS part comes into play, right? The content management system. I come here, I create a post called test title, and I say, hey, test content. Okay. The slug is auto-generated is because I gave it as unique ID. And when I save this, okay, it won't show up, even though you expect it to show up, is because Strapi recently announced the publish this thing. Only if you publish collection type is that way that's available, right? So now we see this, right? If I can just put the ID as one, I basically have access. So basically, if I want to get one resource, if I want to get all the resources, I say /blogs. If I want to get one, I do give it the ID. It gives me one this thing. What's fun about this is if at a point of time I come and say, hey, my client wants to add pictures or pictures, he wants to add a cover picture, he wants to add this thing, a gallery. You basically come here and just add a new content type. Okay, the content type that I'm going to choose is called media, which allows you to upload images, right? I'm just going to go with single image for now and call it as cover picture. Okay, and click on finish, and I save this. Every time you make a change to your model, uh, all the files are going to get, the relevant files are going to get generated, and your server starts. There might be a says that error occurred, but as long as the server restarted, you're fine. Is because that's like a normal thing that happens in Strapi. As long as you see this back again, you're fine. Okay, now I come back to blog. Okay, click here. I have the option to upload a cover picture, but there's a problem that sometimes you get this. The quick way to fix it is actually restart the server. So you kill the current application that's running and just run yarn develop again. Okay. Since out of the box that you have all the APIs that's relevant, you can use something like Postman or like Insomnia to create whatever is relevant as well. So our server is back on again. I will just refresh this. And you would notice I have the option right now to add a cover picture. Okay, I will come here, click. It has a built-in media management library as well. I say upload, browse for files. I'll just come here to pictures. This is for another thing. I'm just going to upload this. For now, I say upload, finish. Okay, I come here, I save this again. And I have my cover picture in the response. Okay, so by default it gives you a lot. It gives it Strapi, when you upload, it creates thumbnails for you as well in different sizes. So all the image optimization happens every time you do something when you upload a media. For someone who is like, well, I don't know, who prefers their payload to be very light, might find this whole payload very annoying, is because the moment you have, just say, I'm going to add another picture, just say I'm going to add an array of pictures, this payload is just going to repeat for the number of times that I'm going to have. So for that, Strapi out of the box supports GraphQL as well. So you can always install the GraphQL plugin. I have very limited amount of experience in GraphQL, so I'm not going to talk about that. But I'm not going to use that. But there's an option for you to, if you're a GraphQL fan, you can always use GraphQL as well. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about relations at this point. Okay. I'm going to just say I'm going to go and create another content type called categories. Okay. I'm going to say category. I'm going to go here. Just say just going to call it name. Just for now, I'm just going to leave it as name. So the server is going to restart, and you will notice now we have another folder called category. So we know that all the APIs are endpoints are built for that as well. So we'll wait for the server to restart. Okay. I'm going to go back into the content builder. Just click outside, come back again. Also, when you come to the media library, you also have the option to edit the pictures. You can resize, you can crop. It has everything built into it. Okay, so you do this, it reflects on the front end. Assume I crop it. Okay, if I can all crop the original asset, or I can duplicate it and I can copy the asset as well. So it gives you the full-fledged features of a CMS that you would expect from WordPress, as well as it gives you the APIs that's necessary for you to build something on your own, right? Without bloating your whole installation of WordPress, something like WordPress with a lot of plugins and themes. So I'm going to come back to the content type builder for blog. And I'm going to create another collection type and going to call it relations. Okay. So a blog can have, okay, a category has many blogs, or you can simply say a blog has many categories. Okay. I'm just going to click on finish. We'll see what happens. See, the only time that you have to wait for something is for the server to restart, and sometimes you might have to go back, stop the whole thing, and come back again to do it. I'm going to go and add a category. You would have noticed that I used category, but it's been renamed as categories because Strapi by default takes the plural of anything you name a collection type. So I'm just going to call it, just say, what do I call this? I'll just call it tech. I save this. I go back to blogs. Okay, I forgot I have to publish this. So it has draft and published by default, it's draft. You can disable that option. I'm going to come back to blog. And now at the side, I have an option to create what sort of a category that I want to put it to. I click on this, I save. I go back to this. Now, if I come and have a look at this, now I have another option that says category. Okay, so it falls under one category. So assume that I come from JavaScript background. I've mostly worked with Mongoose. Every time we have to go and add something, we all know that unless otherwise you have a level of abstraction, you have to always come and set your collections to create controllers for all of those files, right? Unless otherwise you have a starter project of your own that abstracts everything. So that's what Strapi more sort of like, you can think of it as a framework rather than a CMS. Okay, so that gives you an option to do that. So you assume that you give a client, you do a website to a client, which is an e-com site. You only give him, he doesn't have control of how the layout looks like. You just want to give the option for him to manage his content, upload all the pictures, everything and whatnot. You don't have to worry about the client going and messing up any layout structures or anything, because ultimately he's just going to update content, right? He's not going to touch the front end at all. So that's like a quick overview of the first demo. I think I have some time, so I'm just going to jump into the other one as well. But before that, I want to show you that it actually works on HTTP testing tool like Postman and Insomnia as well. So I stopped using Postman. I'm going to stick to Insomnia. Hope it opens. Okay. Also, if you go to /categories right now, it's going to be blocked is because it's going to say forbidden is because every time you create a new content type, you need to explicitly allow it in whatever role you want it to be. Roles, come here to public, and you need to come here, click on find and find one, and then you click save. Then only will you have the option to see everything, or by default everything is forbidden. From the looks of all this, I'm pretty sure anyone who's from the university background might understand that Strapi is a very good project for you to get started with hackathons. You don't have to custom code your backend. you can simply work on the front end. So I think most of the front end developers might like this as well, because ultimately when you go to hackathons, they're going to judge you of how your front end looks like and whether it solves a problem, rather than they're not going to go and check on your backend code. So this is a very good thing to get. Strapi is a very good thing to get you started with building projects. Okay. So by default, these users are the application users. You can come here and always manually create a user, but I'm going to show you that since this is a REST API, you really don't need to always mess around. With the GUI, you can always come here and use any client that's needed as well. So I'm going to quickly jump into the Strapi documentation, because for everything that you need, they either have a plugin or they either have it document in the documentation. Okay, I'm just going to come here, search for auth. Just going to go for authenticated request. And if you scroll down, you can have a look on how you can create a user. So this is for you to log in, right? Hold on, there is a way for you to register a user as well. Log in as a reader, guides, concepts, constant API. Okay, let's search again. Roles and permission, authentication. Sorry, I was in the wrong one. For you to create a user, you need to hit this endpoint, right? It's localhost 133 auth local/register. Why is this is local? Is because I told you Strapi has options for you to create users using other providers as well. If you come here to users, go to providers, sorry, under user and permissions plugin. And if you go to providers, these are the providers that Strapi provides out of the box. If you want to go to do Gmail, you could do that. You can just enable it, get your service account details from Google, and you can just simply put it here and replace the provider name as Google. And you have the option to create users, authenticate users using OAuth of Google. Okay, but since we're doing local, I'm just going to hit this endpoint. Just copy this up, head back to Insomnia, paste this right here. You already have it. I'm going to copy this request. So the username and email is mandatory. The first name, last name, it's not. But you're more than welcome to go ahead and create new fields to the user account. Okay, so I'm just going to hit this JSON. Okay, and this needs to go inside root. Same thing for this.
You missed a double quote in Strapi user.
Okay, so thank you. When you do that and when you press send, you're going to get an request object. Yeah, let me see why this is taking time. When the request completes, you're going to get your JWT, and also the user is going to get created. Okay, by default, you get the authenticated role. You don't go by public. And if you come back into Strapi, go to the users tab. Okay, the user right now is being created. Okay, by default, all your users are confirmed, but you also have the option of blocking the users as well if you want to block him, confirm. So all that is built into Strapi. Okay. Okay, just to show you how to make an authenticated request, I'm just going to go and create. You can hit this. Okay, I'm just going to go to. If you go into settings, you go to roles. Go to authenticated. Okay, and if you go down to users and permissions, and you can see that you have an endpoint called /me that you can hit to get your details. Okay, I'm gonna go here and just do a public request to that. Okay, I added an extra thing. One thing that I don't like about Strapi is it just shows not found, but it also has the concepts of middleware. You can always intersect any request that you want to and also give out a custom message. So if you don't like this not found message, you can write a middleware for response. And if it's 404, you can give like a custom response to it as well. So when I do /me, it's going to throw an error. You need an authentication token, right? I'm just going to copy this up, create a new request on, say, me. Just for the sake of it, I'm just going to hit it on Insomnia as well. I get the same request. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into register, copy this auth, this JWT, go to me, go to auth, go into bearer token. By default, it supports bearer token. So you paste this thing, and when you send the request, you're going to get your user object back. So this is one way that you can validate if it's a valid token or not, if you're integrating to the front end. Okay, so out of the box, that's basically all that you need to know if you want to build like a functional web application from Strapi. You might need like a very limited limited times that you might have to jump into the controllers and start editing it. Okay, so I'm just going to jump into my second demo for a second. I'm just going to close this Strapi instance. I'm going to bring up the other one. So I'm just going to close this, jump into the other demo. It's not complete. I was talking to Modu when I realized, oh shit, my demo is broken. So I went ahead and added that please pray to the demo gods at the start of my second slide is because for some very odd reason, Chakra UI failed me for the first time. I'm just gonna go and say yarn run develop. Sorry, yarn develop. This is not npm. I'm pretty sure it's not something wrong with Chakra UI. So I'm pretty sure I did something wrong somewhere. This is the next project, so I'm just going to open this up on code. Anyone who doesn't use VS Code, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know. VS Code is my favorite editor, code editor. I'm going to open that up and close this. npm run. Run. Again, for me, if I'm building applications of that really needs that's SEO or something, I just go with Next, even though I build my application using Angular. If it's something that needs SEO, I just jump into Next because it works for me. Even though Angular supports server-side rendering, I felt Next was a better option for me in terms of that. I'm fairly new to Next as well. I've been using it for like couple of just like close to 4 months. Even React is fairly new to me. I just started it for my final year project last year. So probably this code might not be the best option for people because again, I'm learning. It's a learning process for everyone. Uh, okay. So I have my Strapi instance up. We'll just jump into Strapi a bit because ultimately I failed my hackathon because my front end looks like very bad. So I'm just going to jump into Slappy. I remember this password. Okay, I think it was mcj@gmail.com. Password was the same thing. Okay, give me a second. Give me a second. What was it? Okay. So what we're going to do is ecom site. I hope this still looks very bad. Let me fix it along the way, but it's supposed to look like a 3-grid thing. I don't know. I added an auth header to this and something went wrong. Just for starters, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to don't have a logout button. I think that's the first thing everyone should work on after they do a login system, is to have a logout button. This is actually a very simple demo just to show you. So it's not focused on next, so I didn't give much focus to the UI or much focus to this thing. I just jumped into Chakra UI, copied a few stuff, and it's up. Okay, so I'm going to register user from the front end. Okay, so I'm just going to show you that this is how you can do work with integration as well. I'm just going to go with OC. Just going to do octal pixel. Password is going to be password at 123 for this as well. Okay, this is actually supposed to be register, but when I do register, okay, that takes me into this. Okay, so I've registered. I've got my user tokens. I saved it to local storage. Just to show it up. So whatever response that I got from Slappy, this is what I'm just putting into local. It's not the safest option, but you can put it on cookies or something like that. I'm just saving the token so I can use this to make an authenticated request. I'm saving the user details as well. This is because I need those details to integrate this with Pay here. Okay, for TechBase is basically I'm trying to emulate like a full-fledged application where it's an e-com site, but not necessarily. This is like the working pieces that you would need. Okay, I'll jump into the content media builder here. So I created 2 extra collection types. Now, like content types called stickers and orders. Stickers basically has a name, description, a price, an image, and a relationship with order. It has a sticker belongs to many orders sort of relationship. Might not be the best optimal one, but I just wanted to quickly show this for a demo purpose. Okay, so the order has stickers, basically the relation, the sticker, the user, who is the user who's buying this, the payment response, the status, the amount, and the payment ID. So the payment response is whatever is coming from Pay here, and the payment ID is same thing as well. So if I jump back into actually, before I do that, let me clear up all the orders. Clear up all the orders. It's not complete because I didn't finish it up because I left some pieces for food for thought. So I'm going to jump into public, and you would see that I have only the webhook that will handle the payment response, and only find one and find. That's open because I necessarily don't have to keep it open because I have an auth system. But if you want, you can have that. But all the others are not public. Okay. I'm gonna go back here. So as you can see, I just have like 3 stickers right here. I'm going to change this back to simple grid. We'll see whether that fixes it. We're going to jump into stickers. I want to create a new sticker. Okay. Assume this is a DevOps or like an open source. for stickers. I'll just give this. I'm going to keep the price to 200. I'm going to go and upload an image. I'm just going to go with this one. Okay, I already had it uploaded, so I'm going to click on that. I'm just going to save this, and I'm going to publish this. You can always give an option to create it from the front end as well. You can definitely do that. Just going to come here. I'm just going to refresh the page. Not Firebase, so it's not going to automatically come here. Let my auth kick in. My auth is not going to kick in, so I'm just going to do octal pixel and do password 123. Okay, now I have my open source sticker here, right? So just forget about the grid. Okay, I have this here. Whatever thing that I created back pops up here, right? Just to run through the demo, just gonna do a purchase. I'll open up my. Since I told you this is not complete, the webhook part is left for food for thought, because people might have opinionated ways of how they want to do it. I'm just going to open up my Sandbox account for here, just to show that the payment actually goes through. Is how one way we can do it is have a look at. Okay, definitely forgot the password for this. Anyone who's outside of Sri Lanka or anyone who is not using Payeer can always use other providers as well. If you're using Stripe, you can always integrate with Stripe. There's enough and more tutorials that's available for you to how you can integrate Stripe into it. Basically, since Strapi is a node project, you can treat it as like a node project. One thing that I failed to mention is Strapi is based on Koa. Koa is something that's similar to Express. So if let me actually put that up. Koa is also a HTTP framework, if I have the correct name for it. So by default, all the responses that you throw can be used. It's a web framework for Node.js. So it's built. SAP is built on top of Koa. So as long as you understand the gist of how all this CTX, the context.body, context.throw, everything works, you can start working with editing the controllers. I'm going to get back into that later. Okay. This is the balance that I have at the moment. I'm just going to jump into this. I think the payment here default card, Sandbox card is also 424242, but let me actually. Okay, that's something else. I'm going to go to Visa. Go to OC. I'm going to put the credit card, put it to 123. I'm just going to put it to 1221. And I'm just going to pay. Okay. Ideally, what you would do is you need to verify this. I didn't, but just to show you that I hit a webhook. Okay. I should have hit a webhook. Okay. Okay. My nzlock failed, so I'm just going to do that order again, just to show that you can always have a callback URL to Strapi as well. Custom callback URL for this. Okay. I'm just going to copy this. Jump into my next project. Runs. Just going to switch this up. For anyone who doesn't know nzlock, you can expose your local computer to the internet using a temporary domain. Most of the people use it for API testing. Mostly if you're doing webhooks, that's the option that you would take. There's another thing called tunnel as well. That works as well. As if you guys remember, I deleted my order. So I'm just going to jump into this. Okay, where is that? I'm just going to jump into orders. Okay. You see my order get populated right here. Okay, so this is what we just ordered. We created the open, we had the open source listing, and you can always attach a user to it. So you would know that user is the ident to it. So that's why I wanted to show you that you can do it as a custom author. You can do it on this listing as well. Okay. Let's actually attach the user to this thing. So how would you go and do that? Is just going to JSON stringify this, and I would say go and say user and say user dot. I think it was strappy user dot ID. Strappy user is coming from a custom hook that I wrote. I'm going to create the next one with the user, and I'm going to show you that it will hit the webhook as well. The webhook is not properly functional, but just to show you that you can always override a custom controller as well. Let's wait for next to build. Okay, since that's up, I'm just going to jump into this back again, just for the sake of it. I'm just going to refresh. Okay, this type might, okay, this is what I said. I don't know what happened. So I'm just going to jump back again, do a purchase. Okay, I actually forgot to show you. Just to see that the payment went through, we'll just refresh this and see if the pending amount increases. Okay, so we had an extra 200, so that means the payment just went through to pay here. Okay, gonna go here to MJ. I hope I have the card. One, two, three, 12/21. Just it's a future date. So just going to jump back here and show you that I hit an endpoint here that says orders.webbook, and this is what we gave as a notification URL to pay here. Okay, so I'm just going to jump into. I'm not going to go into next listing because next is not what we are focusing on, but I'll show you how the requests are made. But what I want to jump into is the Strappy listing. Okay. So basically what we're going to do is I'll go back to this, check the order is there first off. Just for a sanity check, we should have 2 orders. Okay, now I have attached a user to it, so it shows me as octal pixel. So now I have a relation between the order, the product, and the user. Okay, I had no code whatsoever that I wrote. I just had like a front-end integration, and now I have like a working e-com site. Functional but not perfect. It's functional. Okay, there's a difference between something that's functional and something that's production ready. Okay, this is just like something that's been put together. Okay. Okay. The only code that I wrote to get that sorted on Strappy was the custom webhook, but I just let it be because this is what happens. Okay, so this is the custom webhook that we wrote. Okay, simple Koa syntax. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. So you get the CTX, that's context object. It has something called its multipart. For some very odd reason, Payer is sending it as a multipart. I kind of took some time to figure it out. I was expecting a request.body to commit as application JSON, but it actually comes as a multipart. Okay, so what happens is you get the multipart data, you get the response that's here, and actually I got an undefined, so I'm just going to switch this back up. I just noticed now I just got an undefined here. So I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, so something happened. So it's not sending it as a multipart now. So I'm just going to jump back into this. see what's happening. I'm going to switch this up to another order and see if things are working. If you wanted to write a custom controller, yeah, what's going to happen is inside the API folder, what I told you is you get all the custom control post collections that you make. I made an order, if you guys remember. So inside the order API, I have config, controllers, model, and services. Then I have stickers called and the respective controller, model, and service. Okay. By default, it comes up with find one. So if you want to like override a particular controller or a particular service, what you will come is go into this controller, the relevant controller, go to this URL that's there, that's on top. You would come here, just copy paste it on your web, paste that up, wait for it to load. You just simply have to copy what sort of method that you want to use. So if you want to override the create, you would simply come here. If you know the syntax by heart, then that's fine. If not, you can just come here, click on create. Okay. Copy this whole thing up. Copy this whole thing up and just paste it right inside this module.exports. Okay. And by this, you're actually overriding the default controller. So that's how when Strapi says it's customizable. Okay. Just for the sake of it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste the find. Okay. Just going to copy paste everything from find. Just going to do sanitize entity, copy this first, just to show that things hit. I'm just going to paste this up. For those who are bored listening, who are like bored of live coding, probably you can come install Strapi and try it out yourselves. I think that's more fun when you get to play around with that technology, right? So I'm just going to do this. By default, it says restaurant. So I'm just going to change this to stickers. The name is actually this, what you say here. So if you do sticker, it's going to be sticker. And it's going to be sticker here, okay? That's how you change it, but just for the fun of it, I'm just going to comment this part out and I'm just going to return something called return. Okay? This is the find, okay? I mentioned that I should find as this thing. I'm going to wait for it to start. Restart and see if things work out. Server is restarting. I'm going to open up my console right here just to show that this will break. Is because we are not getting the expected response. Okay. Okay, Strapi was at 3.4 today morning and they have updated 3.5. It's very actively under development as well. So you need to be mindful of that as well. So Strapi got recently funded. It's an open source project, but it's actually run and developed by a company. Okay, so I'm just going to refresh this. Hopefully, for once the product demo breaks. I'm just going to take 5 more minutes since we are jumping off of time. Okay, so if I come here and just look at this sticker, luckily it breaks is because I'm getting stickers back. This is the response that I wanted. What I was expecting was a list of array. This thing, since I see a list of stickers, but since I have edited the controller, like overridden the find method, now I have control of whatever I'm sending. Okay, so that's that. So if you want to do a create, you can always override the create. Okay. Let's see if we can. Okay, I'm not going to mess around trying to fix that, but that's how this webhook is being hit. So this is a custom method, right? Webhook is not something that you would find in the default controllers, the methods. That's find one, create, update, and delete. So this is a custom controller function. How do you register that is I'm just going to come here. I'm just going to show you and just say async. I'm just going to do async. I'm just going to say custom CTX. Okay, this is a custom listing, and I'm just going to return. Okay, so module.export. Don't forget the comma at the end. Format that. Okay, so what I expect is when I hit /order/custom, I expect it to show me custom, right? That's what I would expect. But it doesn't work that way. I'll show you why. It's because you need to register the route as well. Even though you create it, you need to register it. Okay, just for the sake of it, I'm just going to do order/custom. This is going to throw me a 404 not found, hopefully. Okay, it says forbidden, but it doesn't exist. Okay, so I'm just going to jump back into orders. Okay, under configs. Okay, under configs you will find routes. Okay, this is how the routes is being defined. And so when you take a particular route, you have the method, path, the handler, and config. Config is you have policies. Policies, you can treat them as middlewares, something that you run before or after you hit this particular handler. Okay, so since it's going to be a get request, I'm just going to copy this. Okay, copy this. Actually duplicate it, duplicate count, and just say custom. Order.custom is because custom is the name of my controller function, right? Okay, controller function. So even though I still do this, I'm just going to get hit by 404, 403 is because I told you everything in Stappy by default is protected. So you need to go back to roles and permissions, go to public, and allow it. Now you would see that the custom endpoint that we put here is there. So if I do that, I do orders.custom. Now I save this. And when I hit this, I get response called custom. Okay. So that's how Stappy, you can take it as a framework. You can take it as a CMS. Okay. That's how it works. But fundamentally, it's a headless CMS, like it promotes itself. That's about it on my end. This was more sort of like an exploratory way of introducing everyone to Strappy with less amount of talking of slides and more amount of demo. So I hope it served the point. Hopefully people got to know what that something called Strappy exists at this point, and WordPress is not the only way forward as well. I'm a big fan of WordPress as well, so I'm not doing anything about it. But if you want to jump into the Jamstack, Strappy is a good alternative for you as well. Okay. Yeah. So that's about it from my end. Let's see if I can bring up my slides again. Yeah. Chatu, Ubudu, over to you guys.
Yeah, yeah, it was really cool session, and my battery got dead, so I'm back again. And thank you
Yeah,
very much, Midushan, on the content, and it was really well structured, and demo is really good. And yeah, that's really, I think demo was with us. It went
exactly.
well,
And yeah, very
and
informative session.
yeah,
I think
The
you covered.
demo god was very merciful.
Yeah, I think you covered a lot of stuff on
yeah,
Strappy.
yeah.
Uh,
Prabhu, shall we go to few questions? I saw,
Yeah, there are some questions here. Um, like Anjan Deshan,
okay.
he's asking.
Okay. Where is the DB located? Okay. Uh, can you bring up my screen again?
Yeah, actually, you stop sharing. Okay, second. Right.
Okay.
Okay,
Where is the DB stored is you have different options, right? So by default, when you do a quick start, when I said how you go and create Strapi is if you let me jump back into the documentation. By default, Strapi is DB agnostic. So that means you can host your database wherever you want. But when you do quick start, it creates a local DB using SQLite. But to answer your question directly about where the DB is located, the DB is located wherever you want it to be located. Okay, if you want to use AWS, uh, in, uh, what is the service of AWS?
they have in
RDS. Okay,
DynamoDB. There
you
was
if you want to do
RDS also.
RDS, if you want your MySQL database to be on RDS, you can have it on RDS, create an RDS instance and do it. If you want to have your database on DigitalOcean, you can have it on DigitalOcean and connect it to Strapi. If you want to have it on MongoDB, especially Mongo Atlas, you create the database, and what you have to do basically you have to come if you at any point changing your database from prod to dev to prod. Strapi supports environment variables as well, so you can do it on the fly. uh, you have to come here to config database.js, and you can change to whatever provider that you want it to be. Okay, by default, I am on SQLite, so they use as an ORM. They use Bookshelf for SQL based databases, and they use Mongoose for MongoDB. I'm gonna let's see if I can. This is how a basic. I'm just gonna open another Strapi project up, so it makes more sense about what exactly it looks like when you do MongoDB. Is because I'm used to doing this a lot. Uh, Art and form. I'm gonna open another Strapi project that I'm working on with. This is basically a contact sort of a registration form. Uh, uh, Registration form. Okay, let's close that up. If I go back to configs and I do database, this is how the setup for NoSQL MongoDB database is going to be. Okay, so the connector is Mongoose, the settings is the host, database name, username, and password. Oh shit, I just realized I'm showing this live. Okay, that's that. I'll probably change it. Doesn't make difference. It's just a SDB. Okay. Also, one thing that want to do is this is like the node mailer setup by default. If you want to extend to use node mailer, you need to install a node mailer provider. That's this node mailer provider, and then you would extend the email. That's the send mail. You would extend that and give the details for this. First thing I'm going to do is change the passwords for this. One thing to note is uh, it's very customizable in where you want to do stuff. So it's totally up to you where your DB is going to be, or even if your provider, if your email provider is changing, you could change it. Yep, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, cool.
But in the case of a
So
quick
I
start,
got
your
an
.temp DB file is. Yeah, sure.
most probably I think that question was I think that came when you start the demo. So I think uh, that question is actually about you used a SQLite for the demo.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And yeah, Strapi support almost these kind of NoSQL and relational databases also, and you have all the power to uh, use it as you want. And the best part is I think
It's
actually that Strapi is also open source, right?
yeah. If you just search for Strapi GitHub, you would find the whole code there. You can contribute to it. You can build custom plugins, providers to it as well. So there's this thing called Strapi Awesome, like all you can find all the list of community-driven projects and stuff as well in that. So you can find, this is the official Strapi GitHub account. Uh, then if you do Strapi, you also would find the list of providers as well. So these are the providers that I actually got the providers from this. Uh, so if you want to do upload to all this, you just have to install it and extend give the relevant credentials. If you want to do mail providers, you want to do this. They have support for Algolia as well. If you feel that the rich text editor that's there is very blunt, you can always upgrade the one to CK editor if you want to. They support a markdown editor as well. Also, Strapi is built of React. So if you know React, you can always build custom front ends to it. How you do that is they have their own library component called Buffer, buffer.js, something like Chakra UI or like any component library. Strapi has its own one. They have a set of other community-driven projects as plugins as well. Apart from that, they have a lot of starter templates that you can get started with, covering all the well-known uh, uh, front-end stack that's there. If you actually jump into the Strapi demo, Strapi's official site, if you want to, if you're still not convinced about what possible sites that you can do with Strapi, uh, you can jump over into the community section. Jump into the community section. I think my internet is a bit laggy, and you can. They have an option for a showcase. Okay. Box. They had an option for showcase. Okay, let's actually Google that out. Strapi. I think I misplaced the location showcase. So if you come to the showcase, you can see list there. People voluntarily list all the stuff that they have built on Strapi. There's blogs, there's ecom. Uh, there's blogs, there's ecom. There's news agencies using this. Education sites. So the use case of this is it's very vast is because it also supports dynamic template, dynamic contents, which I didn't cover, but that's like one of the strong features of Strapi as well. What you can ideally do is you can create dynamic components on Strapi and create the same thing on React. Then you can always start using API to generate your UI. So these are the different types of products that people have built using Strapi as the backend. Strapi might not be the only thing that they would be using. They might be using other stuff, but Strapi is one of the co-contributors as well. The best thing about Strapi is since it's headless, you don't have to really build web application. You can build mobile applications as well. You can easily integrate what we just made into a mobile app as well, either React Native, Flutter, or whatever it is.
And yeah, I saw
So
that they also have support for GraphQL use also.
they do. If you're not a big REST fan and feel the response is bloated, you can always jump into GraphQL.
Prabhu, do you have any other questions?
I think you're on mute.
No, I think I am back, right? Do you hear? Yeah,
No, I
cool.
think that's me. I think questions are finished. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So if you are watching it, this session again, you will be able to get a good idea on Strapi. If you join this session later, you can actually always watch it again. There will be a recording available in YouTube and Twitch and even in Facebook. So you can start from the beginning and go to the introduction to the Strapi and then move towards the demo and come towards to the question section. And yeah, so if he shall I go twice? Going once, going twice, okay, going twice. So if they have any questions yet? No?
No. Not yet. I think
Cool.
he
And
explained a lot.
If you
yeah, I
guys
think
do have any
there should
questions, you can reach out to me. You could probably check the Slack community that they have as well. They're pretty active on that.
yeah, you can find Mithushan in Twitter, and I think he's also active in Facebook. So you can reach to him there also.
Guys, there's another question. Pushpit is asking, can you tell us a bit about hosting?
Okay, so if you think about hosting, like I told you, this is a basic Node application. So you can host it wherever you can host a Node application, either be it on Heroku. So far, I've been hosting everything on Heroku of Strapi, but you're always welcome to put it up on AWS as well. You can spin up Elastic. So about scaling that, you can put it on Elastic Beanstalk, and that will take care of scaling. One thing I'm trying to see if we can hopefully use Strapi serverless is because serverless framework supports to upload Express apps as well. So when you think about it, Koa is also something that's similar to Express. You can probably put it up as a serverless app, but there was one limitation because Lambda, I don't know about the others, Lambda only supported 50 MB. But when you take Strapi in general, it's 250 MB because of the React projects as well. But I think with the AWS Lambda containers, I think it should be possible at this point because it supports up to 10 GB. But if you talk about
Yeah, but
deployment, the Snappy, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, because even Google Cloud Run also you can just put it at you can Dockerize it and just put it there, so it will be
Yeah.
built as serverless. And
I just checked. I
Yeah,
think
you can
they
do
don't
that.
have such a big limit in Chrome.
I,
If you
I,
want to
I I
deploy,
don't use Google GCP, so I don't know. I've been using AWS a lot, but they have support. The docs has support for you to deploy it to anything because it's a node app. You can deploy it in anywhere. So there is a
okay,
development
cool.
deployment section in Strapi. You can just have a look at that. They have for different providers.
you can host it in your own server, sir.
You can spin up a EC2 instance and put it up on Reverse Box and Nginx. You can even have the DB locally running as well if you want to.
Yeah, you can host a whole complete solution in DigitalOcean also.
Yeah,
Get
you
an
could do
VPS
that as
droplet
well.
and just run.
And they have the minimal requirements, I see.
Yeah, the one thing that it
Yeah.
needs is 1 GB of RAM, but I think DigitalOcean, the $5 pack is anyway 1 GB RAM by default.
700 something. I didn't remember. 700 MB or something.
Okay.
Okay, cool then. So we actually come to almost 1 hour and 28 minutes. And
Sorry
yeah,
about
Mithushan,
taking
thank you
extra
very much
time.
for. No, we are actually really thankful to have you in this kind of time and allocating your time to community. 1 hour and 28 minutes is really lot. And we had a chat before that also, so you were there. I think it's about 145 minutes now, 1 hour and 45 minutes. So thank you very much for having letting us to have you in our meetup. And the content is really good, and you actually got really good time to prepare it, and the demo is really structured. And thanks very much for putting your effort on that one. And please share the if you going to show I think it's better to push the code to the GitHub and share with the community, so we can just link it to the video so people can actually show around and see around it.
Yeah, we put it in the descriptions.
Sure. I'll give it to you by tonight or tomorrow morning. If that makes sense.
Perfect.
Okay,
Also,
so
thank
we
you guys for
actually
having me. I hope
You're always
I did
welcome.
just I hope I did justice to your selection of being the first speaker from the pool.
Definitely.
No, we are really humble to have you, and it was really great session, and we want to have you back again. So just keep in touch and give us more content. We love to have you. And yeah, I think it's time to wrap up the session. So I'm going to start from Pubudu. Thank you very much, Pubudu, providing us the platform and providing all the marketing support and helping us to run this session. Thank you very much for it. And thank you very much for all the participants who actually made the session really coming through. I saw there are a lot of comments going around. So thank you very much for having support with us and being with us and trying to learn new things. So yeah, we have some old faces coming up. And Midushan, I'm really glad to see you as a participant and have to glad to see you as a speaker also. So I would like to see you more and cool. So till next time. Have a nice day.
Definitely. You do.
Have a nice day, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.